The most advanced ship ever built struck ice and vanished beneath freezing waters, taking over 1,500 souls with it. But the real disaster was not the collision. It was the chain of decisions that guaranteed no one could escape. Before we dive in, what time are you listening? Where are you from? Drop a comment below and tell me. And please like and subscribe for more videos like this. The telegram arrived at the bridge just after breakfast. Ice warnings. Multiple ships reporting frozen obstacles drifting south. The captain read it once, then folded it into his jacket pocket. He had crossed this route 40 times without incident. Speed was everything. Investors demanded records. Passengers expected luxury and punctuality. This voyage would deliver both. The engines burned hotter. The propellers churned faster. Every hour mattered because the company needed headlines and glory. They needed proof that their investment had created something unstoppable. So the ship charged forward through darkness at nearly full speed, even as more warnings arrived through the wireless room. The lookouts stood in the crow's nest without binoculars. They had been misplaced during the rush to depart. No one thought to replace them. The men scanned the horizon with bare eyes, straining against cold wind and moonless night. Below them, passengers danced and laughed in ballrooms that gleamed with polished wood and crystal chandeliers. The kitchen staff prepared midnight meals. Engineers monitored pressure gauges in rooms filled with the thunder of machinery. Everything seemed perfect. Everything felt secure. But the lookouts saw something. A shadow, a mass, dark against dark. They rang the bell 3 times and grabbed the telephone. Iceberg right ahead. The bridge received the warning. 37 seconds to react. The officer ordered the wheel turned hard. He ordered the engines reversed. The bow began to swing. But the ship carried too much momentum. 50,000 tons moving at 22 knots cannot stop or turn quickly. The iceberg scraped along the side below the waterline. It sounded almost gentle, a grinding shudder that lasted less than 10 seconds. Passengers barely noticed. Some thought they had dropped an anchor. Others continued their conversations without pause. But below, in the cargo holds and crew quarters, the hull had been opened like paper. 6 compartments flooded immediately. The design allowed for 4, not 6. The architect had built the ship with watertight compartments. They were supposed to contain any breach. But the walls between compartments did not reach high enough. Water filled one section, then spilled over into the next like liquid climbing stairs. The ship began to tilt, slowly at first. So slowly that most people did not realize what was happening. The crew knew. They saw water pouring in faster than pumps could push it out. They saw the angle increasing, but the officers told them to stay calm, to maintain order, to avoid panic. So the staff smiled and reassured passengers even as they understood the truth. The lifeboats hung on their davits ready to launch, but there were not enough. Regulations required capacity for only 1/3 of everyone aboard. Officials believed modern ships could not sink. They believed rescue would always arrive in time. They believed other vessels would transfer passengers across calm seas while the damaged ship waited for help. So the company installed 16 lifeboats when they needed at least 48. And even those 16 were not filled properly. The first boat launched with 28 people when it could hold 65. Officers feared the davits would break under full weight, even though they had been tested and proven strong. They lowered boats half empty into freezing water while hundreds waited on deck. The wireless operators sent distress signals. The nearest ship was only 20 kilometers away. Its crew saw the lights. They saw rockets firing into the sky. But their captain had already gone to sleep. The wireless operator had shut down his equipment for the night. No one woke them. No one understood the signals meant emergency. They assumed it was just celebration, just passengers having fun. So they watched through binoculars and did nothing. Meanwhile, another ship 85 kilometers away heard the call and turned around. But it would take 4 hours to arrive. 4 hours through fields of ice in total darkness. Water climbed higher. The bow sank deeper. Passengers finally understood. They rushed toward the boat deck. Crew members locked gates to keep lower-class travelers below. They claimed it was procedure. They claimed it was necessary. But the real reason was class and money, and the belief that some lives mattered more than others. Families were separated. Fathers put wives and sons into boats, then stepped back. The officers shouted for them to hurry, to fill the seats, but they refused. Protocol said women and children first. So the men stood in lines watching their loved ones lowered into darkness. The band played on the deck. They performed cheerful tunes trying to keep spirits calm. Musicians in uniform holding instruments with fingers going numb from cold. They played because someone told them to. Because it gave people something to focus on besides fear. The music drifted across water, mixing with the sound of escaping steam and distant shouts. It felt surreal, like a performance during the end of everything. The stern rose out of the water. Propellers emerged into air, spinning uselessly. People clung to railings. They tied themselves to fixtures. Some jumped, hoping to swim to lifeboats. But the ocean temperature was 2 degrees below freezing. Survival time was 15 minutes at most. Bodies went numb in seconds. Hearts stopped in minutes. Those in lifeboats rowed away. They feared suction would pull them down when the ship finally sank. They feared the desperate would swarm and capsize them. So they distanced themselves, leaving hundreds floating and screaming in the dark. The lights stayed on until the very end. Engineers remained at their posts, keeping generators running. They stood in flooded rooms waist-deep in water, making sure passengers could see. Making sure chaos did not turn into complete darkness. Every single one of them perished. Every single one stayed because they understood duty and sacrifice. The ship split in two. Metal screamed. Rivets shattered. The stress broke the keel between the third and fourth funnels. The bow section sank first, disappearing vertically into the depths. The stern bobbed for a moment, then followed. It took 2 hours and 40 minutes from collision to final plunge. And then there was silence. Just the sound of waves and distant cries fading into nothing. The lifeboats drifted, waiting for rescue. Some were half full, some were overcrowded. Arguments broke out about returning to search for survivors. A few boats went back. They found 4 people still alive among hundreds of frozen bodies. The rest refused. They claimed it was too dangerous, that there was no point, that everyone left behind was already gone. So they waited in the dark, listening to the ocean and their own guilt. The rescue ship arrived at dawn. Survivors climbed aboard wrapped in blankets, shaking from cold and shock. 700 saved. Over 1,500 lost. The news traveled by wireless. The world reacted with horror and disbelief. Investigations began immediately. Testimonies revealed the failures. The speed, the ignored warnings. The missing binoculars, the insufficient lifeboats, the locked gates. Every decision that prioritized profit over safety became public knowledge. Regulations changed. Ships were required to carry enough lifeboats for everyone. Wireless rooms had to operate 24 hours. Ice patrols were established. Procedures improved. But none of it brought back the dead. None of it erased the fact that arrogance and greed had created a disaster that never needed to happen. The ship was called unsinkable. Engineers believed their design was perfect. Owners believed their reputation was untouchable. They were wrong, completely and fatally wrong. The wreckage sat on the ocean floor undiscovered for decades. When explorers finally found it, the rust and decay told stories. Personal belongings scattered across silt. Shoes marking where bodies had fallen. The grand staircase collapsed. The hull split and broken. evidence of a tragedy that should have been prevented. Could have been prevented. Would have been prevented if anyone had listened to reason instead of ego. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos like this.